time to start working with a new program called Erasmus. And she thought about me because in Italy we have a lot of nepotism. So she had no other options. And I started working 12 hours a week in managing the student exchanges. And here I am.
No? It's against the law, no? 12 hours a week, no a day, nor a day, a week.
Not a day. No, that's slavery. No. With that we don't have Sicilian. Nepotism, yes, but slavery, no. And I thought it was a kind of summer job, and many decades after, here I am. So it was, things in life happen like that, I guess. But I studied international relations. I wrote my thesis, my master thesis on internationalization of higher education, and I worked all my life in internationalization of higher education. So things happen like that. I was studying in Italy. I've been exchange student in Sweden for a year to complete my master program. I went back. I kept working at the university in international affairs. And thanks to my exchange, I was then recruited by a university in Stockholm, Sweden, where I worked for many years. And then thanks to this background, I was offered this position at Tech Monterrey. So it's a chain, but if you don't try, you never succeed. So this is what happened to me. And this is what I can advise to everybody. Overthinking never brings you anywhere. This is my...
Going with the flow in a sense.
Yes, go with the flow. And if something goes wrong, play stupid. Hasta el sueco. I also have a Swedish passport, so sometimes it comes at handy here in Mexico to do the Swede. When I do something wrong, I say, I'm sorry, I'm not from here, I didn't know. And I was checked. And living abroad, one of the good, there are many good things. It opens your mind, you step out of your comfort zone. You get many contacts. It has some backlash, which is that sometimes you get some sort of identity crisis. And I have it now because when they ask me where you're from, I really don't know what to answer. So I wonder, should I give them the long story or should I just say one place? But I checked in at an airport last week, airport hotel in Madrid, and I was lazy to look for my passport. So I gave the lady my migration card, Mexican migration card. And she said, if you're Mexican, you should give me your passport. And then I gave her my Swedish passport. And then she said, you're Swedish. I said, no, I'm Italian. And then she said, well, is this even legal? She thought I was a kind of spy or something like that. So when I'm in Italy now, I say I go home. When I come back here, when I go there, I say I go home. And when I go to Sweden, I say I go home as well. So I don't really know where home is, but I guess home is where I am, and that's it.
Okay, it's difficult now after this beautiful story of Mirko. Now I will be totally boring, but let's start. So let's start for my graduation. So I'm graduating in sociology. Okay, and I have a master in statistics, so what a good combination. So it's an explosive combination, numbers and humanities. In the beginning of my career, I just be admitted. I've been admitted on University of Lisbon, on Instituto Politécnico as the Faculty of Engineering, to work on the planning office. During several years, and I started to have some connections, some contact with international projects. I think everything starts there. In 2015, I think, the previous Vice President for International Affairs that Mirko knows very well, José Santos Vitor. If you are listening to me, José, hello. Just decided to invite me to occupy a new position. Was the coordinator of international affairs. I accepted the challenge with some doubts at the time because it was not previewed like Mirko, so it was a kind of accident also. And after 4 years of challenging work, the president of the institution invited me to be, imagine, director of human resources that I was during 5 years. I should say this not so high, but was a little bit boring. Okay, it's not a good exit in terms of profession, but was interesting in certain way because I maintain some connection with international projects. But of course, my passion is the internationalization, and hopefully there was a new position of director of international affairs that the same president decides to invite me to occupy this position. And of course, I'm very happy to be in this position, and now I'm just restarting since September. And I think could be available for other issues. So concerning what is Mexico, what is my concerns about Mexico. Of course, when you are just listening about Mexico, the first idea that comes up to our head is, it's like in Brazil, some questions about security issues, etc. But I don't felt like that. I'm here since Sunday, but. I'm very secure here. I'm just walking at night without any problem. The people are so nice. The facilities that I have here, that I have seen here, they are amazing. I just visited now a lab for biochemistry. This is amazing because everything is condensed on the same space in a big space. If I imagine what I have in technical in my institution, I have maybe 40 labs of chemistry, but they are small ones. And here, I'm just seeing a giant space that offer lots of conditions for the researchers, and I imagine for the students also from PhD. So I think the first impression is very good, in fact.
Yeah. I think a lot of people usually think that when they're going to arrive, it's kind of orange and teal, like in the American movies, right? They're going to see Mexico and it's going to be orange, and they're going to see, why is Mexico so like...
I'm missing my sombrero, yes.
Yeah. And being from another country and coming to Mexico, how do you feel like, well, for instance, let's start from something really basic, the weather. What do you think about the Mexican weather? Is it what you expected or is it different?
I think, Mirko, for you, I think it's more challenging because
I've seen
after
everything.
Italy to Sweden,
you get like anything possible here in 1 week. So,
yes.
But I landed with 48 degrees, and after 1 month I got a hurricane. So that was good introduction to Mexican weather. Yes.
Yeah. For now, I don't know, because it's just 1 week. It's not too much time to say something about that. But for now, it's very nice. I'm used to this temperature in Portugal. Mm-hmm. Typically between April and October is more or less like 20-something, which is in fact what we have now. And it's very nice, the temperature, yes. Of course, it's a little bit foggy. It's a pity because I think the mountains are amazing. But I didn't have the opportunity during these days just to see everything clean, so I hope I have more 3-4 days. No, here I have just more 1 day in Monterrey. So
let's hope for tomorrow.
Let's pray to St. Peter just to have less fog on the mountains, just to see the beautiful mountains of Monterrey.
Yeah, Monterrey is a beautiful landscape for that, and I think even the landmark is Cerro de la Silla, and I think you can see it right now. Have you been to the library?
My balcony, so
I have a picture from
yeah. Yeah, I think it's being surrounded by nature. It's also super nice. In a way, it's a different connection. I don't know if in Portugal they're like this kind of scenery.
We have just we don't have just one, but we have one big mountain in Portugal that has 2,000 meters. So I think your big mountain here, I think, has 3,000 and more, I think. But it's a different ecosystem just in one side, not like you that are rounded for this sort of mountains. But no, we don't have. But answering to you, no, we don't have nothing similar.
Similar, yeah, because I know that like every country has its different climate and what's the word in Spanish? Flora y fauna would be. But yeah, like also like, like how it's distributed, like with animals, plants and scenery.
I think would be a very good visit card to present to the students in technical, because now we are trying to start to have here a very good approach in terms of agreements between the two institutions. And I think so it's a surprise. Monterrey is a surprise. Let's see if the students could be convinced by myself. I will try to be my best, okay?
Yeah, for sure. And we can give you material for that. Well, thank you. You're listening to Global Connection. Thank you for your insights for this. We're going to change now to another section. And remember, to everyone that's listening, you're listening in Tech Zones Radio, Global Connection.
Miles de kilómetros, descubriendo un mundo de posibilidades. Thousands of kilometers.
Well, in this section, in A Thousand Miles Away, it's more about how you would describe the places that you have been. And for instance, usually this is where tech students tell their experience abroad. But I want you to tell us more about what's, for example, living in Portugal, what's the experience an exchange student can have, like by going to an exchange in Portugal. And as well, from your perspective, Mirko, it would be what would be like students going to Italy, for instance,
Yes.
or to Sweden.
Yes. And you, Rui, were saying that we have a distorted vision of Mexico. That happens a lot, especially in Europe. And then people come here and they are very surprised. We noticed it also with all the academics that we invite. And that's a bit the same where I come from in Italy, which is Turin in the northwest, close to the mountains. Because it's not Italy as people imagine. It's not beaches and, having an aperitif by the sea. It's really a mountain city. It's very Middle European. It's a bit more organized than the rest of Italy in many ways. Also, the character of the people is very different, a bit more closed. So it's surprising in many ways. And about Sweden, I can say that it was not really a shock because I had been studying there. But then the work culture is very different, of course. So I came from Italy, some years working at the university, which is very top-down, hierarchical. The boss is the boss, and they decide, and there's very little discussion. To Sweden, where nobody takes any decision, not even the ones who should. And okay, I hope nobody's listening. It's a bit exhausting, but it was also good because I felt that I was more involved. Everything is based on consensus. There's a lot of conflict avoidance because by nature they don't like conflicts at all. They've been in peace for 200 years now, so even as a country they try to be friends with everybody. And that's not the case in Italy all the time because there are conflicts every day basically. So that the work culture is something that impressed me quite a lot. But of course, then you have also the different aspects, the cultural ones, where you just meet people on the street. It's also true that in Sweden it's a bit more difficult to make friends. So I think everybody should be aware not only about the academic content they are going for, but also be prepared from the cultural point of view, intercultural communication. And I think universities should do more about this because they select their students by merit, and a very good student sometimes is not the best person to adapt in a new situation. So there should be also some attitudinal behavioral test, I think, for students to go abroad. And what we noticed also from the other side, from my side, seeing and talking to the students, is that the ones that are more successful during their study abroad, usually they are not the ones that were best at the home university because they have other characteristics. They are more open to adventure. Maybe when they go, they don't focus only on academic issues. So they go for adventures, they get to know more people, and then they make more of their experience abroad. So that's what I did. Didn't care about my grades at all. I passed everything I had to pass, but the experience is more the cultural part. We've been coordinating some projects about this in the past, and the answers we got from the students or the graduates was always that the value of these exchanges was more about the personal growth, stepping out of your comfort zone, making new friends, knowing new cultures, new languages, and the academic part was always at the very bottom of the list. While probably when they chose, this was at the very top. So there's this mismatch. I don't know if you agree.
Yes, I agree totally. Of course, we were in the same boat. Of course, there was a very good experience. In fact, because when you're talking about these experiences we had together, were very nice because we are talking about some connection between what is studying in international experience, but with a context or in a context where the employability are seeing evaluated also for this study that Mirko refers. So, and with this experience that we have, I think we can just say that for an international student, a perspective of now speaking about Portugal, could be divided in two different angles. I think the first one is that Portugal, typically, for the majority of the people, don't have an education of quality. It's a perception. is changing now in the maybe the last 5 years, but this perspective is changing, and because I think we can just do it great things with less money, and I think this is a kind of characteristic that in some countries of the south of Europe, the people are trying to do the different things, and I think in terms of the characteristics of the persons, there are also persons with a nice traits, people with some characteristics where the approach that they are doing for the other are totally different that we can just say and face in Sweden or in the north of Europe. And when we are receiving our international students, the majority of them are coming from the center of or the north of Europe. And why? Because they are just trying to find something that is different. And I think Portugal is more connected or more close to Mexico, if you are just comparing Sweden with Mexico. And I think if you have a student from Mexico in Portugal, you will be very glad, because I think you will be in home concerning the characteristics of the country. Of course, we have beautiful things. We have, you don't know, but I will say it. We have the biggest wave almost surfed in the world, more than 30 meters. Okay, it's between in November and December. I recommend to everyone to go there, because it's Nazaré. And this is amazing because it's a discovery for the majority of the students. And there are some of them that they are going to Portugal not only to study, but because they love to have a surf trip. And they are combining this experience, this personal experience, with the other of education. And they are discovered that we have really a very good education. Other things that we have in Portugal, of course, the food. The food is amazing, like Mexico again, in a different way, but it's good. And we have also the mothers that are fantastic with the food, taking care about not only about the son or the daughter, but also about the friends of the son. So and this is amazing, because I think is the culture that we have in Portugal that we are trying to export, and in certain way, I think. I can just travel around the world, but at the end is where I just connect with me and with myself, and with 100% with my life.
I think, for instance, Portugal is a place that also really family oriented, right?
Yes, of course, very familiar, where the concept of family is more important maybe than the majority of the countries. And I think this is, I don't know if it is because of the religion, because we maintain a certain connection with the Catholic religion, a little bit again comparing with Mexico, and this maybe they put the family in the center of the discussion, in the center of the activities, and I think is what the people can expect to experience in Portugal. Of course, there is lots of other things,
but this is also the thing, because the perception people have about the country usually comes from TV, from movies, or from a short vacation. And I knew tech, I knew Mexico. I thought I knew Mexico, I thought I knew tech, but of course visiting and living in a place is completely different. So it was the same with Sweden. When I studied there, I came back to work, it was completely different, and two different parts of the country. But I think staying longer is always changes your perspective. There is a study about these students or people who go abroad for a limited period of time. They come with their prejudices, and they leave with even stronger prejudices. So to change this, they have to stay for a longer period, because this changes really your mentality. In the first period of your stay, you just look for what you have in your mind that confirms what this country should be for you. This was proven by a study, and that's why longer stays abroad are usually more giving.
And I think there is another dimension now, because nowadays the students are they live in terms of a different idea of the future. So I think it's very normal, because I have two kids. I have one son. My son has 17. My daughter has 14. My son will be in the university next year. I hope in my institution in mechanical engineering, and they have in mind just to go to another country to study. And we need to live with this, because now we are all international ones. So it's not only about globalization of commerce, globalization of services, globalization of the diplomacy. No, it's about globalization of our normal acts in life. And I think the kids are just with this spirit. And it's becoming different because even for some countries or institutions that are not used to receive international students, I think we will have a new dimension in the future. So I think this will raise in the future for sometimes for numbers that we are not expecting to have and could be difficult to manage. So we need to turn a little bit our idea and our concept in our universities just to turn the experience unique. And it's not easy. But of course we are here on this kind of position just to try to change something to guarantee that we are able to do it.
Yeah, I think we're going definitely we're going towards that. And as you were saying, the world is completely like almost like coming together. Everything that happens, like maybe some news tend to take days to arrive. Now in a matter of seconds you have it in your phone and you know something that happened for instance in Portugal or in Mexico or in Italy or in Sweden. You know it, and it's where we're heading towards. So I think that's perspective. It's really neat and nice. And well, we need to go to a short break, but we're gonna come back to positive impact, and we're gonna see also the challenge actually. A little bit about what do you think it has been a challenge towards, like also in terms of internalization. And for everyone that's listening, you're listening Tech Sounds Radio, and we'll be back in Global Connection.
Sigue aquí. En un momento regresamos.
EGADE Run for the Future. Únete a la segunda edición de esta carrera familiar y pet friendly, donde cada paso cuenta y transforma vidas.
Participa en las categorías de 2, 5 y 10K. Comparte esta experiencia con familia, amigos y hasta tu mascota.
La cita es el 23 de febrero a las 7:30 a.m. en EGADE Business School, Circuito Valle Oriente.
No te quedes fuera. Inscríbete ahora en tech.rs/EGADE Run for the Future 2025.
Corre, celebra y transforma vidas. Te esperamos. Carrera en beneficio del programa Líderes del Mañana del Tecnológico de Monterrey.
SIGNUX y el Tecnológico de Monterrey celebran medio siglo de crear mundos posibles con el Premio a la Innovación e Investigación Rómulo Garza, con categorías como el Premio Insignia y reconocimientos a la investigación, el emprendimiento, proyectos de estudiantes, profesional y posgrado. El Premio Rómulo Garza celebra 50 años de talento excepcional que impacta al mundo. Conoce a las y los profesores y estudiantes investigadores del TEC de Monterrey, ganadores de la edición 2025. Te esperamos en la ceremonia de entrega este 27 de febrero a las 12 horas en el Centro de Congresos, Campus Monterrey, o sigue la transmisión a través de Tech Sounds Radio 94.9 FM o live.tech. Premio Rómulo Garza, 50 años creando mundos posibles.
Una revisión histórica y la temática de las canciones interpretadas por los mejores cantantes en el mundo en las últimas 7 décadas. The Crooners, con Daniel Cabrera. Miércoles 5 de la tarde, solo por Tech Sounds Radio 94.9 FM, Monterrey. Tech Sounds Radio 94.9 FM. Amplifica tus ideas.
En el segundo piso de la Cuarta Transformación, los programas del bienestar se fortalecen. Estamos entregando la tarjeta en donde se depositarán la pensión Mujeres Bienestar y la beca Rita Cetina. La tarjeta tiene nueva imagen, pero si recibes una pensión o beca en la tarjeta anterior, sigue siendo válida hasta el término de su vigencia. No es necesario que la cambies y no debes entregarla a nadie. Seguimos acercando los grandes derechos a todo el país. Gobierno de todas y todos los mexicanos. Gobierno de México.
Retomamos el control. Ponte cómodo. Continuamos. El desafío. La integración cultural. The Challenge.
Well, we're back with the challenge. And in this moment of the episode, I would like you to tell me a little bit about your experience, but regarding international experiences with challenges that you have faced in basing your, in your academic journey in this matter.
Yeah, I can start. I have mentioned already some, because I always tend to look to the negatives. But actually, yeah, there are two aspects: the personal one, of course, and the professional one. I worked in 3 different countries, and every time you have to learn the working culture, as I said. And between Italy and Sweden, I explained already. Then I came here, and infected by the Swedish experience, I realized that I was maybe too soft sometime, because I was expecting consensus to emerge spontaneously, and I didn't understand that sometimes I had to decide things. I mean, I've just started, but sometimes they told me, yes, but you decide this. I was bringing something up, and they said, yeah, you're the boss, you decide. I said, well, can I actually decide without asking anybody? So apparently on certain topics it's like that. But then, of course, it's a more friendly environment as well, so it goes both ways here. It's very friendly, like family feeling, but there is somebody who takes decision, which is a bit refreshing after the Swedish experience, where everything is relaxing in a different way. Nobody bothers you, nobody challenges you, but nobody can take any decision. So that was making me tired. But from the personal point of view, so every place has its pros and cons, of course. But from the personal point of view, the challenges are a bit similar, because, I mean, they are transversal. You have to reset your social life. Your friends at home tell you always that they will visit you, and they never do. Or 1 or 2 of them. You did, but you came for work. Would you have paid for your flight to come and visit me? And so then you realize who your real friends are, and they stay. But you make new friends, or acquaintances at least. Sometimes are internationals like you, who are in the same situation. I had this when I studied abroad. And sometimes it turns into even stronger links, because you are in the same situation, you are facing the same challenges, you feel excluded in the same way. So it's good in many other different ways. And it's also a humbling experience, I think, because where you come from, they know who you are, you have established your status, and here you move, you try to explain who you are, but that doesn't really go through. And it's also that you have to fight with, bureaucracy and basic needs, and they don't care who you are. You can be vice rector or just, cleaning person. They don't care. If you need this document, you need this document, and that's it. So, which is also good. There is no discrimination, but resetting your social connections, I think, is the worst, but not worst part, because on the other hand, it enriches you. It teaches you to solve issues. It makes you feel more self-confident. That's also what we noticed in the students that come back. We got to talk to some parents that came. This didn't happen to me because I just arrived, but some colleagues told me that their parents come and to thank people who manage international program, because their sons or daughters, when they come back, they are transformed people, they say. Because they become more responsible, they are more thankful. They help at home because they had to fix their own food when they were abroad, and maybe before they were a bit spoiled and they didn't do that. So these are all, despite all the challenges, you get all these positive things at the end. So I think that it's always better, as I said, I think it's better to repent for doing something than regretting not having done it. And if you focus with the right mindset, then of course you understand that the benefits are much higher than the challenges that you had to face. And even the challenges made you a better person. That is my experience, at least.
Okay, so let me just speak a little bit for 2 dimensions. The first one, in the point of view of a student. When a student comes from a different country to another country to study, of course there is some issues, some challenges. And the first one, and I think is general speaking, because Erasmus Student Network is a very important network that are just taking some studies about that. Housing is a problem, of course. Housing is a problem. It could be a very serious problem in some countries. I know, for instance, the example of Sweden, because sometimes was very difficult for international students sometimes to have the accommodation in Sweden, because it was a decision for the landlords just to avoid to have international students. I know this experience that some
I
people
have
pass
some
me.
international students living in my apartment.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
you are
part of this.
you are a new one.
I'm not part
you
of
are
the
you are
problem.
changing mentalities. But in Portugal, I can say about Portugal, the prices are now very much more higher. Maybe in 5 years, they double the prices of the accommodation there, which could be a very difficult problem for the students. Of course, we have some accommodations for that from the university, but it's not enough for the all amount of students that we are receiving. So first of all, sometimes this could be a drama for the students. Or imagine a student that can or that needs to live at 30 kilometers or 20 kilometers away of the university is not good for all the elements of integration of the student. The second element, I think, is the sense of belonging. It's extremely difficult to a student to come up to a new world, because it's a new world, and sometimes to feel this integration, because the majority of international students tends to be with the other international students.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are missing the other parts. How is possible to connect with the others? And this is, I think, an element fundamental that, again, when I'm just saying that we are facing a new challenging for the future in terms of internationalization, this could be a challenge. In fact, I can mention another study that we just made in the past. This is income about integration of international communities. And on this, we try to understand on this study about when you study about 21 stages where the student can just be improved with the support of the staff, academic and non-academic, to have a better experience on their international studies. So this could be fundamental to express it, to spread a little bit how it's possible to do, because if they have a unique experience, as I mentioned some minutes ago, of course, the others are coming. And I believe on that. Other situation now, because it's becoming also worse, and I can use the word worse, because after COVID, all the elements about the well-being are now also very challenging. You spoke in off at some minutes ago about the center of meditation that you have here. And of course, these structures, these facilities are fundamental now to give to the students also a new tips of facing the problems that they have, because of course they will have problems about some texts, some exams, some relation with some professors, because we know that in different cultures you can have professors more available and professors that are not so available, and this also could be an element that the institutions could now make the difference with the approach. Other thing, of course, administrative procedures. It's a nightmare sometimes, of course, and it's not a nightmare only for the international students, of course, but for the international students, sometimes when you have a learning agreement and you need to go to your mobility coordinator, and mobility coordinator is saying, no, I will not approve this credit, but I need to change because in the other side they don't have this credit, and this discipline is not possible to combine with the other. Please, because otherwise I will not able to go. So this could be very stressful, and sometimes we are working with these international students, we are more or less accompanying the fears and the feelings that they have. So what we are hoping, but maybe to have some, some aspects about digitalization that could support in the future all these elements, just to facilitate the life of the students. Other situation, and the last one, just to finish this part, is the culture and the respect of the values of this specific country. Of course, if you are going to a country like in Portugal, this is very, or at least a little bit religious, there is some elements that some students are facing that are not so easy to deal. And sometimes I think we don't have the correct amount of facilitators, and I'm just using carefully the word, facilitators, just to promote this integration also because of this difference of culture. We know that in the European Union, there is a kind of straight element now that they are just promoting all the world. This is the respect for the European Commission value, European Union values. So this is a kind of topic, kind of motto, if you want, that is easy to say, but it's very easy to deal and to apply and to implement. So it's a new challenge that we need to implement, because the European Union values, and I'm just being here a little bit Eurocentric, like maybe the Americans are also a little bit like this, but it's part of the life. So so it's part of the history. Because when you are just saying this, I'm just saying that we must learn to be more tolerant with the others, and sometimes we don't have the correct persons to do this in universities. We have this sense. I think we are more sensitive because we are working with international persons. So, but for the majority of the other part of the academia, they are not prepared to that. And I can say that some professors also. And this dimension of work with the professors, this dimension of culture, of sense of belonging between the students, I think they are fundamental, and will be, I think, a big challenge for the future.
I think everything that you're saying, we should give this for these talk. We should share it with professors and academics generally, because it's a perspective that maybe they are not taking into consideration when they're having an international student. And I definitely think they should take care about this, because sometimes they think that they come with a similar perspective as it is in Mexico, but they come with a different background and they're used to a different system. So maybe sometimes they're valued in the same way that are, like, for instance, tech students are valued. The students, it's a surprise at the beginning. But yeah, I think the challenges definitely, as the word says, are things that are a challenge and they need to be worked. And well, now I think it's part to also see the bright side of the stuff that we are just talking about. And for everyone that's listening, I'm going to be also like a short wrap about what we're so far talking about. Si están sintonizándonos apenas, bienvenidos. Estamos hablando con Rui y Mirko sobre sus experiencias de internacionalización. Recuerden que también nos pueden sintonizar en YouTube, ahí nos pueden ver. Y están escuchando Conexión Global, Global Connection en Texas Radio.
Impacto positivo. Resultados de una experiencia académica. Positive Impact.
Well, we know that there's always a bad, but when there's always a bad, there's always also a good, like the yin and the yang, like kind of thing. So what would you say it's also like positive aspects that you have seen from like internationalization in universities and in your personal life even? Like, what do you take from these experiences?
Yeah, maybe I can start with my personal experience, since I have studied and worked abroad. As I said, I started as an international coordinator when I was very young, like 18. So I was hanging out with the exchange students and with the students who went abroad and returned. And I was really jealous of their experience, also because I noticed that they had some connection that I didn't have with my friends. I mean, now it sounds a bit sad. I like my friends, but they had something more, because they were having an experience that is completely different. They were away from home, they were independent. And that's when I decided that I would go and study abroad. And then in my experience abroad, I realized that I mentioned already some of it, but I think it opens minds, makes people more tolerant in every way. They get rid of all the prejudices. I think it's important that people step out of their comfort zone. That makes them grow up much more than any education they can get. I said that students come back transformed. I feel I'm transformed every time I move on and change. I also said that it's not for everybody, but of course, if you have the right personality. I also heard about bad experiences. I mean, it's not that all students think that it's an amazing experience, but the majority does. These links that are created with people in your same situation create stronger links. I have more friends from my abroad experience than the ones I have left in Italy. For time changes things, of course. They have different kind of life. But most of all, I think that living and studying and working abroad opened doors, because I realized that by chance I got this job. I started liking internationalization. I went to study abroad because of this job. Thanks to this experience in Sweden as a student, I got years later this job at the Technical University in Stockholm, because I knew a bit the language, I liked the country. So that's the main reason why I was recruited. And I also got this position here because they knew about this international experience. They knew that I had relocated already once, and I could easily, more or less easily, readapt. So in this sense, it really opened doors. And of course, you learn new languages. You are more adaptable to new situations, and that's a value that now employers give a lot. And also for your personal growth, as I said, I think you should be a kamikaze because, as I said, if you overthink, probably you won't do it. It's better to repent than to regret, and you should just do it. I think, like you should get some fees from Nike for this, but just do it. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, you have a recommendation. I think the first question that come to my mind is the no limits for the knowledge, because I spoke about the globalization again some minutes ago, but if I'm just thinking in the vision again of the student, to go to another country, to go to another set of countries, is open the mind. You use the expression. I agree totally. And with this experience, of course, it can just when they need to decide something, they have different scopes or angles of analysis to decide. And I think this is the most valuable thing that we have. And I'm just talking not only about the students, but now about me. And I have this rationale because I'm doing a lot of things in my life, not only the part of the university. I will just say that. So I'm a politician. I'm a politician in Cascais, in the area where I live. I just doing different things for different ONGs and different associations. I was the president of the Parents Association of my children. But this is in fact the way that it's opened my mind for different things. And when I'm doing things for the international affairs, I'm just using the experience of having the other areas. And the same for the others. When I'm doing politics, I'm just thinking in some experience that I have in international way. And everything is enriching my life and enriching my capacity to say things. Because if you don't have any experience to tell to the others, your story, your message will not pass for the others. And of course, if you are here, we are trying to have some impact on the life of the others. And I think the internationalization for students, for us as workers, has this kind of impact. Because I can imagine that when I have an international project, for instance, and sometimes we have 8 partners, we have a deadline in 1 day, but at 2 hours of the deadline, one partner say, I will not participate and put in risk the proposal. But I have so many contacts because I have so many experience with some people in the world that it's easy in 2 hours to find out a partner. Why? Because he trusts on us, because in 2 hours he can say yes. And this is based on our communication, our experience of having these contacts with all these people, and I think this is fundamental for life. And I hope that my kids also could follow this kind of experience, because it will be fundamental for the future. And it will be fundamental also when we have to decide if we are working here or another place. Because now I'm here, I don't know, in 2 years, in 3 years, if I have a different invitation to go to another place. And what I hope is to have conditions to decide properly. If I have some more information than the others, of course, I think I will just trust on my decision. Other thing that and now come back to the part of the students, I think the international classroom for me in the last years was one of the questions that I think makes the experience for the students more useful. Because, as you know, in some countries, in Mexico maybe it's the same, the majority of the students don't have financial conditions to go abroad. And if you are taking some conditions in your institution to come up to different international experience to them to gain these skills, I think could be also very fundamental. Another thing that is fundamental is the short intensive programs, because again, with a short period, it's more easy to manage for this kind of experience. You can just open the minds for a large majority of students. I believe on that. I think all of us believe on that. Sometimes it's not possible, but I think we need to create these large avenues to guarantee that they have this experience. Because a student, a person, with a large experience of life will be a better human being.
And I think we can go on that note that definitely I think this experience enrich and make better human beings. And I think that's like growing in general. Like international experience helps you grow, and also I think hopefully become a better person. We never know, but hopefully that's the main thing.
We hope that someone evaluate us like that. No,
it takes away the fear also. That's something I noticed. It's that it's fixable, so just do it and then see what happens. I had some bad experiences also because I'm a kamikaze, but I realized that I do things, and then afterwards I said why, but then I realized it's because of the accumulation of everything I've seen, everything I've experienced. I always think there's no danger. That's just rumors and that's stereotypes. I went to buy pulque here in a district where I shouldn't probably have gone. When I told my friends, they said, well, you're crazy. That's not possible. I've never been there. I was born in Monterrey. I never went there.
But you know why you are a kamikaze? You know why you are a kamikaze? Because you have the whole experience of
that's
life.
what I said.
This is the question.
So I don't see the danger.
Yeah.
I have no time for that.
Well, if you had to choose a word that will wrap up what is having an international experience, what would you say is that word? And now it's like the kamikaze experience, but with one word.
This is a good challenge for us.
One word.
One word.
I think it's inspiration for me. Yes, if I have to choose only one.
It's difficult. I can join inspiration with motivation, and I think we can have here the total amount of two words that can explain what could be an experience on the abroad. Yes, inspiration and motivation.
Yeah. What happens to me very often is that they ask, okay, I have this life. I moved from one country to the other. I came back. I'm always there with my suitcase. I'm home half of my days, and many people ask me, how can you do this? But in my mind, I would like to ask them how you cannot do this, because I look at their life and I think this doesn't belong to me. So it's again, you need the right personality. But I think in many cases they say, "Oh, it's so fantastic what you do. I'm so inspired," but they would never do it themselves. So.
And we have a big advantage. We can have a travels book that we can write after the 65 years old when we don't have time to do more nothing unless write. So it could be an experience, no? It could be an experience.
Sure.
Well, and then will be inspiration and motivation.
Yeah, and we will refer to this radio program.
Yes,
in the book.
Being inspired, being motivated.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Rui and Mirko. It was a pleasure having you. And for everyone listening, this was experience from two different countries joining here in Mexico, Italy, and Portugal. And, well, thank you again.
Thank you, and study and research in Portugal.
And we'll see you next time in Gold Connection here in Texans Radio. Gracias.
Thank you.
Adios.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Bye.